here. That was Bret. You just saw.
No, I just want to know how you could actually have Dallas Page on this show. You know, when you can have, you know, real first-rate
Bret's so good.
wrestlers.
No, don't go there.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. He looks like one of those. It looks like an Irish outhound or something.
No. Diamond Dallas Page is a friend of mine. He's an honorable man. I trust him.
Are you kidding me?
Maybe I'll trust you at the end of this show.
The stories I can tell you make your sneeze roll.
Well, let's move on. Okay, enough about time. And you're a former member of the WWF, which is run by Vince McMahon. And what happened between the two of you that caused such controversy?
God, that's a long story. How much time we got? He's a guy that I worked for 14 years, and I gave everything to him, I think. And he's basically, in the end, he just became, I think he's always been, but he proved with me, again, like he has with so many other wrestlers, that he's basically a liar and he's a cheater. And he's a very dishonest guy to work for. That treats his wrestlers and all his people that work for him, he treats them all like circus animals, which is, you know, that's kind of what life being a wrestler is like sometimes, being a circus animal. But at least, you know, that I can take pride knowing that I stood my ground and I knocked them out cold.
I found this very interesting, the documentary on you on A&E, and it goes through this whole scenario with you and Vince. And a lot of the times you said, I don't trust this guy, over and over again. How come you kept doubting yourself?
Well, because he, you know, over the years, I mean, to say he screwed countless wrestlers over the years is, you know, everyone knew that it was like sort of like being hanging around with a snake. He always sort of knew that this guy could bite you at any given moment, kind of thing. And over the years, every wrestler, every champion that ever worked for him was left under such bitter circumstances. And I think the last one that left under bitter circumstances would have been Hulk. And I think the message I got from Vince McMahon was that he sort of had learned from those bad experiences. And if you look at every champion he ever had, they all left like that. And he was going to make a sort of a statement with me that he had changed, that he felt bad about how he treated his talent. I remember him telling me that one time, that he was going to treat his talent differently. I sort of thought that I was going to be the first guy that he would use as a sort of a, you know, look what I've done for Bret Hart kind of thing. But just when I least expected it, I got zapped like everybody else.
Yeah, it was the ultimate betrayal. I mean, he did stab you in the back. And your dad was a promoter and a coach for wrestling, right?
Yeah, my dad was a maniac. He really was. He's the kind of guy, if you woke him up about, say, 5 o'clock in the morning and told me I had a couple of Chippendale dancers downstairs that wanted to learn how to wrestle, you couldn't get his shoes on fast enough.
Oh, man.
He loved to show people what he thought anyway, and what real men were, you know, and generally that was a very physical contest of wrestling and fighting for your life.
In fact, you guys had a place in your house called the Dungeon,
Yeah.
where you could hear through the heater vent or something that your dad was doing downstairs, and
Yeah,
there were people screaming for mercy down there. Right?
Yeah, you'd see, and you saw some very big guys talking, power lifters and, you know, ex-football players and, you know, shot putters and big, husky, burly guys that wanted to be wrestlers kind of thing. And they'd go down and sort of mess around with this old guy who's my dad, and he would absolutely torture them. If they hung on long enough, if they suffered through enough of it and kept coming back, they eventually found themselves on cards, and eventually they found themselves becoming pro wrestlers and on the big circuit. That's where you get so many of the, a lot of the wrestling stars for the last 30 years came out of my dad's basement.
Really? And you have, what, 8 brothers? Or tell us about your family, because it's large and they're all in the wrestling
I have a huge family, and you can, it's sort of a cross between the Addams family and there's 12 kids in the family. I'm the 8th one down out of 12. There was 8 boys, 4 girls. And it was kind of like living in a big giant hotel. And we're all, it was one kid after another, and it was certainly a pecking order. And I was 8th one down, so I could think I held my own. I learned the good and the bad of pecking order, you know.
Well, now, Bret, you've gone from being one of the good guys in wrestling to one of the worst.
Well, you know, I think basically what's happened to me is I've lost faith in, first of all, I lost a lot of confidence in the WCW and how they handled my coming in, and I'm happy to be finished with them. And I appreciate what they sort of did for me over the last year to a certain degree, but at the same time, I think they really missed the boat with me. I think that I sort of given them that no confidence vote. You know, I think they've mismanaged my whole career in the last year, and I've been sort of put against the wrong opponents at the wrong times, and you know, I can say that having beaten Bill Goldberg makes me, you know, proves my point together. I'm the best there is, and the best there is, and the best there is.
Do you like it one way or the other any better?
Well, it's certainly easier to be a villain.
Okay.
And, you know, for me, I fly from Calgary, you know, and I usually fly the day of the show kind of thing, because I try to stay home as long as possible. So you fly all over hell to get there, and you're pretty stressed out, and you can get yourself in a real bad mood real easy. And then you walk to the curtain, and I used to have the cheers, and I come through now, and I usually get spit on or worse, and hit with coins and stuff. So it builds to you're really glad you're a bad guy by the time you get in the ring. The wrestling fans are attracted to sneaky, wicked, bad, evil bad guys. That's the place to be. The only thing I refuse to do is shave my head and grow a little goatee like you know, that seems to be a trip. If I did that, I suppose I'd be cool. You know?
You're pretty cool. But you had trouble with the WWF, and now you're talking about leaving the WCW. Why?
I'm close with the WCW. I'm finished. I refuse to work for a company that can't utilize me. They don't want to. I was told, funny enough, by Vince McMahon that the WCW wouldn't know what to do with Bret Hart if they ever got him, and he was right about that. They haven't known what to do with me since I got there. And, you know, I don't need to. I really don't need to do this for a living anymore. I can go home. I had a point I wanted to prove when I came to the WCW, having left the WWF under such circumstances.
Right.
I really had something I wanted to prove, and I've been continually sort of misled and held back, and you know, just when I'm told I'm not wrestling, all of a sudden I'm putting my boots on. It's been a really hard year for me to be prepared and to go out there. I've had to wrestle under really odd circumstances on a week-to-week basis. It's really hard for me to find a footing in order to sort of like show what I can do or to be the best. And after a while, I've just reached a point where I don't have to prove that I'm the best wrestler.
So you're telling me you're not a troublemaker?
Well,
We're going to get into some trouble after this commercial break, so don't go away. More with Bret Hart when later returns.